So my name is Abiola, and I will be taking the introduction to the business analysis. And so this session is just, so it's not going to be sort of like a full course, for you to become a BA or what you need to know to become a business analyst. So it's just an introduction to the business analysis, some few things. Let me just say few things that you need to know, because if you need to actually take the whole course, I think it's going to be several weeks. So it's not just going to be like 4 hours training now. So because you have to do some requirements documentation exercise, there's a lot of things involved. So this session today and tomorrow is just an introduction. So and if you actually want to know more, and I will encourage as well for those that will be doing the internship, so I try and access the YouTube, the Blue Sky Citadel YouTube channel. Then you'll be able to see, the past videos that I've done in the past. So maybe like 2019, 2020. I think those one for 2019, 2020, they are like a complete their full course video. So you see like maybe session 1, session 2, maybe to up to 6 sessions or so, or maybe is this session that they used, or maybe lesson 1. I'm not really sure of that one, but at least you will see like accordingly how they uploaded it, maybe like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, like that. So like those ones, those set of videos are for the full course. So you'll be able to see, like at least let's say 95%, if not 100% of what you need to know, to become a business analyst. So I will recommend or suggest to you that you should, go to Blue Sky Citadel channel on YouTube and access those ones. And also for those that maybe that will not be doing the internship, same thing still apply. Because these 2 sessions today and tomorrow, because it's going to be probably maybe just about 3 hours, is not going to be enough for you, to become a business analyst. It's not going to be enough what you need to know. So it's just an introduction. Then we're going to have sort of like question and answer. But the detailed course that you need to listen to, like I said, just access those one like 2019, 2020. I'm not sure of 2018. But at least like the old video sets, because business analyst, it doesn't really change. So it's still the same thing. Like what I taught last year is still the same thing. It still applies to this year. And what I taught maybe in the last 3 or 4 years ago still applies today as well. So you can still listen to all those videos, and that will really help you. So if you have time, okay, I know it's just short time, so you can't really access it between hours, or you can't really listen to all the videos. So because I wanted to say, if you are listening to any of those videos and you just have questions, so you can come with your questions tomorrow, then we can, discuss those questions together. So, but just for the introduction, so you need to, I will encourage that you should get this textbook. Is a BCS business analysis textbook, and I think there's 4th edition or so, I think so. But you can try and search for the latest one. You can get it on Amazon, you can get it on eBay, so you can get it on any of the on the internet. Anyway, just search for this BCS business analysis textbook, and you'll be able to get the textbook, because it's actually, they're explaining in detail, what BA is, the competency, and there are some techniques there as well that you can listen to. That, I mean, you can read through as well. So that will really help you. So this is let me say, this is one of the textbook, like the main textbook that I would say you just need. And it's something, if you have time, it's something that you can even read through in two. So, it's something that you can just do that. And so then there are some online materials as well. You can, you can listen to maybe, you know, if you Google online, definitely you see a lot of materials as well. So don't just limit yourself to the Blue Sky YouTube channel alone. So read the textbook and also maybe some other materials as well. So then you can combine everything together. That will really help you in your journey as well. And so, and also the basic certification that it's not like a key requirement, but it's just that when you have this certification, it helps you. And it's give you sort of like an opportunities as well. You have opportunities sometimes maybe when you apply for jobs and they have, you know, maybe the same qualification, maybe the same, you guys maybe the same, you know, the same skills and all those things. So definitely if you have that certification, it may give you an edge. So I'm not saying that definitely is the key requirements, but sometimes some job adverts, they will ask you, you know, to they will ask for it. They may say, do you have that? They need somebody that has that certification or maybe that foundation certification in business analysis. So if you have it, it will help you. So it's something that you can, and I think it's about probably maybe, I'm not really sure of the, you know, the price now, but it's something that if you go on BCS website, you'll be able to get the cost of that certification as well. So at least as at the minimum, so you can have this foundation certificate in business analysis. And so now, so just to so when we say, so I'm not going to, you know, read like you know, I'll just my way of teaching, I don't go by the maybe like the definition. I will explain what it is. Then if you now read the textbook, definitely you'll be able to get understanding of, you know, like the you know, the definition. So but I prefer like explaining what it is. Then at least once you understand what the business analysis is, and because even if you go for a requirement, maybe any interview, they won't ask you what is business analysis. I've never attended any interview and they ask me what is business analysis. So, so we are not going to do sort of like a definition word for word like that. So it's just to explain for you to understand what it's all about. So when you even go for an interview or when you're speaking with somebody, you know, you'll be able to explain. You can even say, okay, I know what business analysis, I know what it's all about, I know what they do, I know what the business, or you know, the analyst, I know, you know, all their roles and things like that. So I will not be, you know, doing word for word like textbook. So and so that's why if you listen to maybe some past videos, so what I explain here, so maybe there are some words that, or maybe that I'm going to use, it may be different because I don't have a script that I use. So I will just explain it, you know, the way I know it. So the way I explain it, so it's still the same, it's still going to be the same meaning, but it's just that, you know, the way I will explain, maybe some words may be different, you know, from what I used the last time. So I don't use scripts. So the business analysis, so it's more or less like a profession, you know, that's actually enable change. And what the analysis is to help the business to identify their needs, you know, and because there are so many times, you know, you have a lot of organization and they may be having some projects or maybe they may be having problem, but they don't really know how to actually, you know, figure out what exactly do they need to do to solve that problem. So they may say, oh, we are experiencing customers are complaining. So, but we need to actually find a solution to this. So, but the business analyst can go in there to say, okay, what exactly is the problem? So once you know the problem, then you can now start, you know, try to understand the root cause of the problem. Okay, so the process. So could you talk me through your customer journey? Could you talk me through how you do this? So by them explaining things to you, you can now help them identify the business needs. So you can say probably maybe they need to change their processes. Maybe there's a delay, maybe a bottleneck within their processes, or it could be maybe it's their system that is having problem, or they may even know that maybe the systems they are using, they need to change the system. So, but even if they know that you know, that they need to change the system, but they still need somebody like a specialist to come in to help them to document all those requirements. And when we say the requirements, is more or less like, you know, the business users needs, you know, like what they need to solve a particular problem. It's just like if I say I need it, my requirement is to, for this afternoon is to have lunch. So definitely, or maybe is a bowl of rice. So definitely that means that is what I need, requirements, like what you require anyway. So the analysis is more or less like the business analysis is more or less like, helping the business to identify their business needs and recommend the solution, and also to deliver value to the stakeholders. And so there are so many ways that you can, do this. There are so many processes that you need to, steps that you need to carry out. So it's more or less just, determine solution to their business problems. So, but if they don't have any problem, definitely they don't need you. So, and so that's what. So who is a BA? So a BA, so definitely so it's a BA that will actually now do, carry out that analysis to understand what the problem, to help them to actually identify their business needs. And so, and the BA, we come in to liaise between the business people and technical specialists sometimes, because the business, they may, for example, let's use maybe HASDA as one of the, let's say an organization, and they're having problem. So they may tell you, okay, they're having problem with maybe delivery. So, but they don't really know exactly where the problem is, where the problem is coming from. They just know they're having, people are complaining about their delivery that is, maybe they don't get it on time according to the SLA. And so the BA needs to go in there to have, to understand the process, from customer placing the order up to the delivery. So once you understand that process, you could easily identify, you map that out to be able to say, okay, this is what they do, this is what they do, how long does it take them? You need that skills to be able to ask questions, to be able to understand how they do things. Then you could easily identify, oh, maybe this could be a problem that you can start discussing with the business. And even when you discuss with the business, and even if you identify the problem, you still need to be liaising. The business people cannot be talking with the technical team or the IT, let me just be saying the IT team or something like that. So it could be an external IT team. So they need somebody that, that will be liaising between the business and the technical people, because you have that skills to understand, to try to dig into their problem, to understand their problem. Then you can relate that to the, to the technical team. So more or less like you are points of contact, the business and the technical team or the supplier. So, and we can say BA is more or less like, intermediary person between the business and the technology team as well. So the BA, so you have, so you can, and as a BA, you can work in-house. So it could be, you can work in, maybe like do an in-house project, within the organization. And it could be something that probably maybe the IT team will, within the organization, will be delivering that solution. And it could be that you have to liaise with external supplier. For example, if you want to design maybe a new system, it could be that you will need to be liaising with Cisco, organization, or with Dell, or with SAP, or Oracle or Google, all those things. So it could be that you need to liaise with all those external suppliers. It may not really be that it is your in-house IT team that will provide that solution. So you don't just limit yourself that, okay, it has to do with the project that maybe your IT team within the organization, those are the people that you'll be relating with. No, so it could be it could be in-house, and it could be maybe external supplier as well. And also, and sometimes some people ask, okay, or do you have restriction on the industry that a BA can work? No, so you can work in any organization as long as they have a project that they are doing, or they want to implement a new system, or they want to work on their processes, or they want to, try and, make a change. It could be to their existing system. It could be to their business processes. It could be they want to carry out business improvement, process improvement. So as long as they want to change something within the organization, so you can work. one can work in any industry, be it retail industry, be it Tesco, Asda, be it Dell, be it government organization like Department of Works, Department of Education, and it could even be private, it could be NHS, it could, you can work in any industry, construction, hospitality, anyway, you can even all this local council as well. You can work as a BA in it. So most industries, if not all, actually usually as BA, that they will, they usually work there. So as a BA, you can work anywhere. So you are not restricted to maybe one industry. But the only thing is that if you have a knowledge of that industry, it give you an edge because you understand. I do say, for example, if you're working in sort of like maybe in a law firm, so as a B, they do like some law organization, law firm, they do require BA, for some of their work as well. And sometimes, if you're somebody that maybe that your first degree or you've practiced as a lawyer, or maybe as whatever all those profession under law, as long as you've read law, definitely it will be easier for you, to understand all those terminologies when they're explaining things to you or when they're mentioning something, because you have the background of law, you've read law, so you know all their vocabularies. So compared to somebody that is just coming from science background, because the person does not even know what maybe deposition, the person will, what do you mean by deposition? So, all those things. So it's just that it gives you an edge, but that does not mean that a science student cannot work as a BA in a law firm. That does not mean that. So it's just that sometimes it makes it easier, for that person to have an edge, to work in that industry. And as a BA, you don't need any IT knowledge for the role. As long as you can use the application, you can use Word, you can use Excel, and you can use some, Microsoft application, the basic, at least basic IT knowledge. That's what you just need. So, so you can type, you can use the computer, as long as you can use computer. So at least with a minimum, usage, you should be fine, as to work as a BA. And also, and for you to work as a BA, so there are some skills that you need to have for this role that are required. And so, sometimes when they give you some of the business users, they may tell you something. So for example, maybe you've identified a problem and you maybe is about maybe a delivery, maybe there's a delay in maybe their delivery to the doorstep of the customers, and you've mapped the processes and you've identified the bottlenecks. And maybe while documenting the requirement, then the user is telling you that they need to be able to, they need a system to be able to calculate cost, something like that, something similar to that. And how does cost relate to, what we are talking about, the processes of what are the steps, the tasks. It's not about the payments now. So, sometimes they may give you some requirements that you have to actually reason with it and see whether does it actually relate to what you are talking about. So you need to be able to think properly. You need to be able to analyze the information that they give you. So, you need to be able to have that critical thinking, to be able to think deep sometimes. And sometimes they may tell you one thing. You may be able to, try to tease out maybe about 5 questions from there, or about or it might be about several information, because sometimes they may not, it's not that they know everything in the business user, but they may not really know what you are actually looking for. But once they tell you, give you a certain information, you should be able to probe further to understand, why do they do that? How do you do this? Then when you do that, what do you do next? Or where do you get that, handoff from? So you need to be able to, get, because until you tease out all this information, then then you can really, maybe sometimes you can get to the root of the problem, but sometimes they may not even give you enough information, but you need to be able to ask the question for that, for you to be able to understand the process. So, and you know, if you don't really like communicating with the people, definitely it's not a job for you, because be it involves communication, be it verbal, be it writing emails and all those stuff, or documenting requirements, or communicating with people in one form or the other. So you need to, because without the communication, you can't even understand, you can't even know what their problem is in the first place, and you will not even be able to know what their requirements is, what they need in the first place. So you need to have that skill to be able to communicate with people. You don't need to have different accent or something like that. So, but it's just the way you communicate with people, the way you relate really matters as well, because you will be dealing with people. We call them stakeholders. You will be, relating with stakeholders. You'll be talking when you'll be having workshop with them. You'll be asking them questions. So, because it's not everything you can ask, in an email. Sometimes you just need to, have that face-to-face conversation, or maybe Teams, or like online Zoom, or depending on the technology, whatever you are using in your organization. So you need to be able to have that conversation to understand their requirements, their processes, to talk about the project generally. So communication is key for this role. And also attention to detail is something that, you need that, because sometimes they may tell you, oh, we need to bake, for example, we need, let's say, we need a, let's say, vanilla cake of 16 inches, and maybe that's what we want to be producing. And you can't just write that they need cake of 16 inches and missing out the vanilla. So that means you did not pay attention to that detail. It's not detailed enough, because that's not a complete requirement. Because they've mentioned that they need a vanilla, cake of 16 inches, So you have to ensure that every detail that they've given you, you've captured it. So you can't miss out the 16 inches, and you can't miss out the vanilla, because those are key to that cake. So because they can't just make a vanilla cake without even know, the baker cannot even know, or does not even know, or maybe, the size of what they need to, the vanilla cake they need to bake. So you need to actually pay attention to every detail they give you. And sometimes they may even say, oh, we want only administrator to have access to to have access to print on that system. So you can't just say user must be able to access this, maybe must be able to print, or that people must be able to, print on that system. But they've already specified that administrator, only the administrator. So there's so many details that involves, in the requirements that you need to really, really pay attention to. So you can't miss out anything, from anything they give you. You need to ensure that you capture it. Even if the supplier is not going to, or the IT team is not going to deliver that, or they're not going to work on it, maybe for one reason or the other, you still need to, capture every detail that your stakeholder has given you. And so also documentation, it's also part of it, because you document your requirements. When they give you all these requirements, their business problem or what they need, you need to be able to write it down. You can't say it, you can't be telling the IT team verbally that, okay, they said they wanted. You will be responsible to document all this requirement, be it 1 page or 15 pages. You have to document it yourself. So documentation is a key task here as well in this role. And we've mentioned about the business industry. So it's not really a core skill that you need to, but sometimes they may put an advert outside out. They may say, okay, we need somebody with financial experience, probably maybe because maybe that organization is a financial industry. They just want somebody that has financial background, and so just like we discussed earlier about the law, or degree in law. So it's just that sometimes they may prefer somebody that has that background. So But it's not that you need to have, finance experience or financial experience or law experience before you can work in certain industry. No, except if they put, that requirement or that as a key essential whatever requirements for that candidate. And also, this role is actually, it involves investigating, like if they said, because you are going there, because they have a problem or they want to try and carry out some things. And you need to be able to try and understand, to investigate what exactly do they want. Be it something that is in new something, or maybe something that is already existing, they just want to change. You still need to talk to people. You need to interview people. So that's part of the investigation. So we have different ways that you can investigate. We have different techniques. So I think we will discuss that later. So it's a key thing that you need you need as well to carry out this role. And facilitation, we usually use that for terminology for workshop, because sometimes you may not have just one-to-one interview. You may need to facilitate a workshop that involves maybe several people. It could be 10, 20 people that you need to actually, discuss these requirements with. So you need to have that skills to be able to facilitate a workshop. And stakeholder management, very key as well, because you'll be dealing with people. So we call them stakeholder. We call our business user, like the people we relate to, we call them stakeholder. So how do you, because you have different people, different temperaments. Not everybody, will be nice like that. No. So you have you have different people that you come across. But at the same time, because they are your customer in a way, whether you are working in the same organization or not. So they are still your customer, and you need to manage and you need to treat them fairly, even if they are being nasty to you, which they are not supposed to. But even if they are, so you still need to try to be able to manage the situation properly. If somebody is being nasty and just maybe while you are gathering the requirements or you are talking to them, they're just being rude and things like that, you need to be able to to manage that situation. You can't talk part of them to say, no, don't talk to me like that. You can't do that. But there's a way you control that situation, you understand? So you need to be, so stakeholder management is very key. Very, very key, because you have difficult stakeholder, you meet nice people and you meet some other side people as well. So you just need to be able to manage everyone. And sometimes you have conflicts on the project as well, on the requirements. One department may say they need this requirement, the others may say, and it could be probably you can only have one. So how will you be able to deal with that when there's a conflict? So maybe this system can only produce maybe let's say 5 reports a day, and maybe finance is saying we need 7 or 9, and probably maybe another department, maybe HR department, is saying no, we need 5. So, but how do you actually want to work? Because there's a conflict there. So, and the system can only accommodate 5. So how do you do it? Because the other people, you can't just ignore the people that even want 9 of their reports to be generated at the same time. But you need to be able to manage them. You bring them together, try to understand, let them talk the reason why they need 9, the reason why they need 5. Then you explain to them, okay, the system can only accommodate this. We've tried to talk to maybe the IT team. They said it can only accommodate 5. So we still need to bring this down to 5. So which are the reports that we want to put in? So you need to be able to manage that conflict. And if you manage it well, both parties will agree. They will reach a consensus to say, okay, let's put this 5. We are happy to go with this 5. So one way or the other. So that's just an example. So you just need to be able to manage, conflicts, when you are working on the project. But not every time that you have conflicts, to be honest, not every time. So, but it's something that you need to be aware of. And team working, definitely, whether you are working as a nurse or as a, as a BA or as a project manager, you all work as a team. You need to be able to work as a team, because as a BA, you don't just work alone. You work with people. You work with, probably, maybe you may be working in a scrum. If it's an agile environment, you may be working with, if it's a waterfall environment, you may be working with your project manager. You have your business chain lead, you have your, your software tester, you have your developers, you have your product owner, you work with in a team of people on that project. So you need to be able to, have that team player spirit to be able to work in a team. You need that skill. So you can't just say, oh, once I do my own tasks, that's it. No. So just, so, which I know that definitely many organizations, many roles, you have to have that, team working, team player spirit. You understand? You need to be able to have that attribute as a candidate or as a staff. So you need that. And so, like I said, for your responsibility as a BA, once they put you on a project, so you have, different things that you need to do. And so you investigate. So there are, like I said, there are so many ways that you investigate, maybe by interview, by doing document analysis, or by doing discovering or researching on the internet. So many ways that you can do that. That you carry out that investigation out, which is still detail. So, and like I said, so when they place you on a project, you need to identify your stakeholder, because your BA manager may just say, oh, we've assigned you to this project to go and work on maybe an accounting system, a new accounting system that we want to get for the organization. So definitely they will give you maybe at least one contact, that go and liaise with, go and contact this person, then the person will be able to tell you what we need to do. So, and you will be working in a team anyway, in a project team. So, whether you have your project manager or you have your product owner or whoever that you'll be working with, at least you will have one. And from there, you'll be able to, know who are your stakeholders. Your project manager, let's say we are working in a waterfall environment. So you have your project manager. At least your project manager will give you at least one person to be able to say, okay, this is the subject matter expert that you need to speak with. And your project manager may even give you so many contacts depending on your still maybe the stakeholder that you need to speak with. So once you have from even one stakeholders, you can get to identify other stakeholders, because while you are talking with that stakeholder, one stakeholder, the person may tell you, oh, we interact with the HR team as well, so you need to contact this also. So they will be giving you. So from there, you are populating your stakeholder. And once you identify your stakeholder, you just need to be able to know who are the main, the main people that has interest of this project, or some people that they don't even care about the project. They are just there just for, for data sake. So, but like I said, it's a very detailed one. So, but we'll see whether we can discuss that in detail. And so once you identify your stakeholder, the next thing for you now is to start, speaking with them, trying to gather your requirements, understand the business problem, trying to document the business processes. And then, once they give you all those information, then you can start analyzing it and document all those information. Then you can say, this is where the problem, this is because, they are here right now, maybe like we call it like as is, like their current stage, and where do they want to get to. So you'll be able to carry out all those activities there. And then when you document that, then you can say, okay, this is what I've documented. So you send it back to your stakeholder, which we call it for validation, for them to validate that what you have documented is actually what they have told you. And that's exactly what you have documented, because once you pass it to maybe the IT team and they implement it. So even if they change their minds, it definitely will incur cost and time anyway. So, and it's even impact the delivery time. So you carry out that process as well. And once that has been done and it has been implemented, there's what we call user acceptance as well. So for the user, the stakeholder to actually check what you have maybe designed or implemented, and to see, okay, this is exactly what they wanted that you've delivered. So there are various stages, and you will be involved in all this. Like, these are your main things. Like, you own this rows, you own these stages, more or less. You own everything on this page. You own that. You have to be responsible for that. And so we know that in every row you have what we call you have your vocabulary and you have your keywords. So like elicitation, so that's more or less like, instead of you to say, I want to gather requirements, you can say elicit requirements, or requirements elicitation. It still means requirement gathering. So it's just a BA vocabulary. So, and also Moscow, when you hear people saying Moscow, is like for every requirement, you prioritize it. Every of your requirement needs to be prioritized. So I think we've talked about this as well, the roles, investigation, stakeholder identification, requirements, and we've talked about this. So, okay, we are now on the keywords. And so for your requirements, so when you write a requirement, there's a way you need to write your requirements. And when you write the requirements, you have to prioritize it, because they may not, like I said, they may not really have time to deliver everything. And maybe because of cost. So they may say, so it could be because of cost, it could be because of time or resources, or it could be because of anything. So, but your requirements, when you write any requirements, you need to have, you need to prioritize it. You need to put a priority to it. And how do you know the priority? Because you are just there to document it. You don't know, you are not going to be the one actually going to put priority on it. So you ask your stakeholder who has given you that requirement to say, so what is the priority? How do you want? Is it sort of like is it like a must? So the aim is for us to say, is a must that you need to have that. M that starts must. So it's something that is essential and you need to get it done. So that's what that M is for. And the should is something that is important, but it's not essential. So it's more like level 2, like, or let's say maybe it's now, is going to be behind the must. When you get all the must done, then maybe you can get the should done, just in case if they have to, maybe because of time. But it's just something that you are saying, those are the priority that you've assigned to it. So you can only have one priority per requirement. So your one requirement cannot have, you can't assign 2 priorities to, to one requirement. So each requirement needs to have its own priority, be it must, or be it should, be it could, or they will not, the WEs will not have. So it's not, you don't mind if they don't do it, because it's not really important. It's less important as well. So, and your could is that it's nice to have, it's less important and not essential. So, but they can still do it. So it's like, if you want to actually put a number to it, we can say M is 1, should is 2, and could is 3, would not have is like, the fourth. So you can do it. But so when you hear Moscow, or when they say, how do you prioritize your requirements? So you can say you use your Moscow to prioritize your requirement. So that's your priority. So every of your requirement needs to be prioritized, regardless whether they're going to do it or not. You need to ensure, but you can only get that information from your stakeholder. So as they are giving you the requirements, you need to ensure that you ask them for the priority, how important it is and things like that. So, and even because they may not really know the meaning of Moscow, so you need to ensure that you understand, you have that, maybe you write it out, or you send it to them so that they will be able to know which one is should. What does should mean? What does could mean? Or you can explain that. And also some organization, they don't use must or should, could, would. So they just use high, medium, low. So which I know that is straightforward to be able to say which one you want to be regardless, they have to get it done. So then they'll put I. Accordingly, they may put medium, they will put on. And some organization, they just use 1, 2, 3, for their priority. So they don't use M or Moscow or this HML. So they just use numbers. So the one will be the most, like the highest, So all their requirements could be 1. So it depends on, how important those requirements are. And it could be a mixture of 1, 2, 3, and it could be 1 and 2, all those 50 requirements, or the number, regardless of the numbers of the requirements that you have. So it could be. And so that's Moscow H or I, medium, low, 1, 2, 3. These are things I use for, to prioritize your requirements. So it now depends on the organization, what they use in the organization. But once you get there, you will know anyway. And so, like I said, facilitate is you use that terminology for workshop. We can say, I facilitate a workshop, or I'm facilitating a workshop tomorrow. We just use that. And the BPMN is like a, acronyms for business process modeling notation. So when you, for this, as a BA, you need to learn how to use Visio, Microsoft Visio. And it's something that you can get it on Microsoft website, or you can get, to practice that. So you use your business is a bit, so BPMN, if they say BPMN notation, this is what it means. So you use that to map your processes, to do your diagrams. So although there are some organizations, they use some other application, but like the most common one is just Visio. So you have this BPMN as part of it as well. So the business user, we know, like the business user that you relate with in the organization, which is say your stakeholder as well. And you have your project sponsor. So for every project, you have somebody that, that is a project that is sponsoring that project. Fine to still be within the, maybe your organization. And it could be external. So depending on how your organization is being set up. So you may hear business sponsor, you may hear project sponsor. And so you have your stakeholder. We've discussed about stakeholder. And the business process model. So it's like a sequence. So this is more or less like step to step. So if you want to say, that as that delivery, how do we want to know where the problem is? So we need to map that process. When I say map, it's like, documenting the sequence of how things are carried out. So we are not saying that, okay, once the customer places an order, what happens? So they may say the order confirmation goes to the warehouse team. So the warehouse, so you ask them, so when they get down or order confirmation, what do they do with it? Okay, so they may say a certain team within that warehouse, again, maybe they will check whether they have, maybe they will start packing it or something like that. So then you say, what happened after that? They may say, okay, they send it, they contact maybe the logistic team or their drivers. So, so you just want to understand that, that journey, from order placement to the gets to the doorstep of the, of the customer. So you map that. So that's what we say, the process. That's the process of, delivering from order placements, maybe to the customer doorstep. So that's a business process model. So the gap analysis as well. So it's like, you carrying out that to understand the gap. What are the gap? Because definitely they will have what they are doing now, where they want to be. So what is the gap there? What is the gap that they have at the moment? And the swim lane it has to do with Visio as well. So we call it swim lane. So, but when I show you, I will try and show you the Visio application, then you'll be able to see the swim lane as well. So Epic is more or less like a big user story. I know you may not really understand what a user story is at the moment, but I will say if we are able to get to that slide tonight, so you'll be able to understand what user story is. And so we have all these keywords. You just need to get yourself familiarized with all these keywords. So this RACI is like responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. So it's like a project management terminal or acronym. So you just need to, but everything, I think you should be able to get that in the textbook. So that's why I said, this is just introduction. It's not going to give you the detail of everything. So, but the past videos like 2019, 2020, you should be able to get a full session, I mean, day course on there. So software development lifecycle, this is another key point. This is unified modeling language. So you just need to assess, like definitely this one, you need to really know this. As is, if I say as is, it means current. I'm saying at the moment. I'm saying current, current. So then to be is how do you want it to be, you know, like future, what you want. So this is a terminology that we use in business analysts to say their future, maybe how do you want the future process to work, or how you want the future system to be, you know. So we used to be assist, you know, we use that. So you may hear me saying assist, or you know, or there to be requirements, things like that. So you just need to understand, know the difference. Artifacts is more or less like your deliverables. I can say you produce a project initiation document, you produce your project plan, you know, those are artifacts. So wireframe is something that we do as well. So, and also another key one that you need to know is that your requirements, every requirement that you write, it needs to fit this SMART, that's specific, measurable, achievable, some people say attainable, then realistic or relevant, time bound, some people say time bound, based, timely. So, and I think we have a slide on that to discuss that. And workshop, like I said, is not every is a technique as well, the investigation technique that we use, you know, like when I say, when you bring a lot of people together to now start discussing your requirements. So, and BRD, when you say, oh, have you documented the BRD? We mean business requirement documents. So BRD, so that's your business requirement documents. And pain points, so they may say, oh, what are your pain points? So they may say, these are our pain points. Can you document the pain points? So the pain points are like their problem, you know, like pain. Like what is really paining them, you know, what is a problem for them, what is inconveniencing them, or what they don't really like, you know. So we usually use pain points. Can you document their pain points? So they may say that system is not user friendly, unable to print, or, you know, inability to generate reports or timely reports, or it does not convert to the report, we are unable to, you know, produce the reports in PDF format or convert it to PDF format, something like that. You know, those are example of, it could be pain points. And SME, we know it's subject matter experts, you know. So there are some people within the organization, they are like experts in that area. You know, when you are dealing with maybe like for example, an accounting system. So you know, you have some people that is their core, is their area, is their, you know, they are specialists in that area, you know. So, and they usually involve in projects as well. So depending. And use case also is part of what we use to actually support our requirements documents as well. So it's form part of this UML, which is still within the Visio. So I will see whether we can cover that tomorrow if we have time to cover that. So, and your requirements, so you have different types of requirements. So we have functional requirements. So what are functional requirements? So the functional requirements are, for example, let's say we want to develop a website. So we can say the functional requirements is that the user must be able to log in to the system, or the user must be able to register to the system, register on the web, you know, on the page or on that website. So we can say that. So that's because it's something that is visible to you, to the user. You'll be able to see it. You know, it's something that you want the system to perform at the same time. You know, something that you can use on the system. You can easily see it. You know, so we can say that's our functional requirements. So, or we can say ability to generate, you know, to generate reports. So it's something that, you know, you can use at the same time, you can use on that system. So you have different requirements, different functional requirement, depending on the system that you are using anyway. So you have different functional requirements that you can use anyway. And so with the non-functional requirements are sort of let's say non-functional requirements could be, is like what happens in the background. Most times it's something that happens in the background. So like, for example, so we can say the system must be available 99.9% or maybe 24 hours a day. But you will not, it's not something that the users are using in any way, but it's just that that system must be able to behave in that area, must be able to have that attributes, to be able to say, to be able to available for the user to make use of their own functionality. So the functional requirement is like a functionality of that system, how the system is supposed to be function. So, and the non-functional, so an example of another non-functional is that maybe we call like a backup, that you're saying the system must be backup every 20, maybe every 4 hours or every 2 hours. So, but it's not something that the user is going to use that, but you want it to be able, you want that system, to be able to behave that way, to be able to ensure that it's function, it's that, it's like a background where it's not something that the user is going to use, because they are not going to be saying that is our data backing up. No. So functional requirements is like what the solution is supposed to do, like the function, like the way it's supposed to function. But the non-functional requirements is like how the solution is supposed to be, like how it's supposed to behave, so, and so you have different functional or non-functional requirements that it could be about scalability, it could be about capacity. You may say you want 1,000 users to be able to, access that website at the same time. That's why sometimes when during the COVID, you have, a lot of people, like a lot of websites like all this Morrison, M&S and all those, shops. And, there were a lot of traffic on on their websites. And because there are limits to what it could accommodate at a time. So probably they've already documented their non-functional requirement to say it should have maybe the capacity that it should be able to have, let's say 2 million users concurrently. 2 million users can use the system at a time, or maybe 5,000 users. Maybe that's how they design it. But when they now say that, maybe let's say 5,000, and now during COVID, 20,000 people, were trying to access that website at the same time. So definitely it's not going to work, because it wasn't designed to accommodate 20,000 users at the same time. So that was not the capacity. So, something like that, that requirement like that is a non-functional requirement. So because it's sort of like like a basis, that sort of like that happens in the background. So the user is not even, they are not going to use that functionality to say, okay, it's different. So you just need to understand. I'm just trying to explain. So it's not something that the user will be able to, to be able to see that. So imagine, so that's how you were able to see that. They may say during that COVID, they were saying, oh, you are now number 8,900 and something, for you to even access that website, to be able to start browsing what you want to browse on Morrison or Tesco website, because there were a lot of traffic, and definitely it could not accommodate. And they may even put it purposely because of that anyway, just to reduce, the traffic on the system. So non-functional requirements is, like maybe, the security, when you talk about the, disaster recovery, to breaks down, how did they recover it? Or maybe, how long do they need to recover the system if it goes down? The availability, scalability, like all those compatibility, that's an example, or those ones are examples of non-functional requirements. And then and also, so most times you document these two type of requirements most times, especially functional requirements, because that's what the system, the users will be using to say they want to be able to log into the website. They want to be able to raise RPO or maybe purchasing order. They want to be able to raise a course. They want to be able to register a user. They want to be able to reset their passwords. All those ones and functional requirements. You know, setting your password, resetting your password, creating your usernames. All those ones are functional requirements. And you have general requirements as well. You know, they are not related to, you know, anything like, you know, how the system. So it could be about legislation. They may say your system needs to be maybe GDPR compliant. So it has nothing to do with the system, like what the user are using on the system. And it has nothing to do with the, you know, like maybe compatibility or capacity of the system or availability, but it's just about like data protection. So sometimes it depends on the templates that you're using in your organization. So they may have this, you know, section to say general requirement. And most times it could just be general, or maybe it could just be functional and non-functional section that you have. Most organizations, they don't even have that general requirement section. So you just need to, but once you read that textbook, you'll be able to see different types of requirements, but the most common ones are just the functional and non-functional, and at least at the minimum you need to know your functional requirements and non-functional requirements. So, and like I mentioned, so these are core deliverables of a BA. So, and depending on the organization, you may document some other or maybe documentation. They may ask you to, you know, produce other documentation, but it just depends. So, but at least you need to know what your business requirements document. This could be an Excel document. It could be in a Word document. So it depends. It depends on what they're using because different organizations, they have different, you know, way of documenting their requirements. But you just need to understand that, okay, as a BA, you need to document you need to prepare your business requirements documents. And so we have different, so there's what we call high level requirements. You know, if you are documenting requirements, so it's just like, you know, you don't want to really go down into detail. You don't want to discuss in detail. You just want like, you know, overview of those requirements that they want. So that's what we call high level. So for example, like a project, maybe you are trying to develop a new system. The high level requirements, if they say you should document the high level requirement, definitely the requirements will be given to you by the stakeholder, remember? So they may give you 10 high level requirements. So, but when it is time for you to now do the detailed requirements or the low level requirement, that 10 high level requirements could be broken down. It's still the same requirement, it's still around that 10 requirements. That could be broken down or expanded into 60 requirements. So that's just the difference, but it's still the same. This one with the high level requirement would just be sort of like a, you know, like a bucket for those 60 requirements. So that's just the difference there. And so requirement traceability matrix, most times some organizations, they don't document it. So it's just for you to be able to trace that requirement, you know, that they have given to you. Sometimes you usually, like in all the places I've worked, we usually use Excel documents, you know, to be able to document this requirements traceability matrix. And it's something that is very, very easy once you see the, you know, because you will have a template anyway, in anywhere in organization. If it's not a new organization, they will have maybe like what the BA in the past, and maybe they produced in the past project, you can refer back to it. So you surely have a template. It's not that you start, you know, developing your own template from the scratch. So, but at the same time, it's something that you just need to, you know, you just need to know what a requirement traceability is, what high level requirement is called, and, you know, but you have a template for it in any organization. And so like these ones are not really core, they're not really, let's say, I hope I'm recording. I can't remember again. So they are not really core deliverable like that. So, but sometimes it's it depends on the project. So sometimes they may ask you to write a business case, but it's not really a BA work to do a business case is more or less like a project manager, to do, but they may ask you to support it, to support, the documentation of that business case, but it's not something that is core BA tax. And the wireframe, you don't usually do wireframe for all projects. So the wireframe is so it's more or less like, let me just put in it is like a sketch of, or like a diagram of how maybe the website or the system, something like that, but usually for something that has to do with user interaction, like for your phone, like on your mobile phone. Definitely before that mobile phone, all those, the before it was actually maybe for example, let's say Samsung S21. Before they designed Samsung S21, they actually did the UX designer, they call them user designer, things like that. So definitely they would have, worked with the BA and on some other project team to put sort of like a wireframe together to say, okay, when you first switch on, when you press this button, what should it display? Like the way the layout of the system, sort of like things like that is the wireframe. So, and then they will say, once they click on setting, what should display, So the way the layout and all the icons, or let me say the icons or the buttons that appears on the screen, those layouts and things that, so it's more or less a wireframe as well. So same thing with the website. So the layout of the website, where should be the logo, where should be the contacts, what are, the information of how you want it to be arranged on the website, and the things that you want on each page of that web. When you click on register, what should happen? So definitely you have a wireframe for the register, you have a wireframe for maybe resetting password. So most times is usually, sort of like a, when you are doing sort of like a digital maybe projects like that, you need a wireframe. So, but not all projects that you use a wireframe from anyway. And so mockup is still similar as well. So test plan is something that has to do with, all software tester or QA, they call them as well. So, but it's not something that a BA needs to really, it's not really their job like that. But if you know it, it's something that is also good as well. So business impact analysis, not all organizations document business impact analysis. But if you're meant to document it, definitely your organization, they will have sort of like a guide and how you need to document that. So it's just for you to know some core. So like I mentioned earlier, BA tools. So you need, at least at the minimum, you need to be able to know this. So the visual is for your diagram, like the swim lane, your processes, your use case, and the Word documents, it could be to document your business requirement documents, and your Excel is the same as well. So it could be that you need to use, some people use Excel to document their business requirement, and some people use, so for your acceptance criteria as well, you use Excel. Some people do document that in Word as well. So it just depends on the template that they are using in your organization. So Balsamic is also what they use, a tool that they use for, for the wireframing as well. And Sketch, same thing, like, so they have different, so depending on, so definitely you have to use a license if it's a proper, standard organization. You definitely, whatever application that you are using needs to be licensed anyway. So whatever they're using there, you just need to ensure, but at least at the minimum, you need to know these three, which is the Microsoft Office one at the minimum. So you need to be able to use that. And yeah, so I think, so the stakeholder, so like I said earlier, so the stakeholder, so I think once it's 8:30, I'll just take questions. So the stakeholder identification, like I mentioned, once you identify your stakeholder, there are so many things that, you need to be able to identify who are the people that actually want this project to succeed. Definitely there are some people that they will be part of the stakeholder, but it's just they don't really care, whether the project succeeds or not. But one way or the other, maybe they just have that project it could be that is something that maybe it touches their area in a way, So you just need to identify who are the people that has, power, they can influence the project, positively or negatively. So you won't even know anyway whether they are going to do positively or negatively. But at the same time, once you know the power that they have, you'll be able to manage them where, keep them on your side, or, be active with them, something like that. So there's a table, there's a grid, in the textbook that actually tells you. And I think when you do the certification as well, I think there's a question, they usually have question around, how do you manage? So if it's somebody that has high power or low interest, because there are some people that will have high power, but they won't have interest in your projects. How do you need to manage them? So that grid shows you what you need to do with them. And and your stakeholders as well. So some stakeholders, they are just responsible for that project. Some people, they just need to support that project, or you just need to consult them, maybe just for information purpose. They are not accountable. Some people are accountable for that project. They know that this project, if it's faced, they will be accountable for it, or they will be, they are responsible for it. For example, we can say example is project manager. They are responsible for managing day-to-day of that project to ensure, so your stakeholders, definitely they will fit maybe one of these. So before I go there, I said, so sometimes, your stakeholder they may change, maybe they change role, or maybe something happened along the line. So you just need to ensure that you update that. So this is the grade that you will see in the, I think in your textbook. So what we are saying is that this is for their influence or power. So some people have low power, and they will have low interest. So they say ignore them, but that does not mean that you should just ignore them totally. If they give you requirements, you still document their requirements. Not that you just ignore them like that, please. And so some people have some. So this is more or less like some. They have some power, but they may have low interest. They may have some. They may have height. So you just need to keep them on your side. And some people, so some that has high power but low interest. So these people may affect your project one way or the other. So you just need to watch out for them, And people that has some interest and high power, you need to ensure that you satisfy them, because they may report, they may do anything, that's just. So you just need to, although you're not going to present this to anyone, so it's just for your own usage. So nobody's going to say, prepare the stakeholder power for me. No, nobody's going to. So it's just for your own use. And I think for the exam purpose as well, you just need to know how to manage the stakeholder. So that's just that one. And so that's just example. So I think we've discussed about this. And the investigation. So like I said, you have different ways that you can investigate. So like I said, if they assign you to a project, so they may even tell you that we don't even know how this system is going to work. They may even tell you that. So, or they may even say, we don't even know what we don't really know what we need, but we just know we're having a problem, or we just need a system that can help us manage our e-learning courses. So you may have to, it could be that you have to do some research. You have to go online, try to research, try to Google to see what are the systems that can be used, excuse me. So it could be, and then you will need be able to, read through maybe the functionalities. Then once you get that information, then you will now be able to share it with your stakeholder to say, okay, these are the functionalities that e-learning can have. So because they may not really have an idea of, how they want the system to, to work. They may just have one need, but at the same time, they may have some other needs that they've not actually identified. But by the time you are now saying, okay, when you did your research, that they can, or maybe generate attendance sheets or needs, they can record things, a lot. So it's a lot of, work at the same time now. So, and you have different techniques, that you can carry out that investigation. And it could be they even know what they want. So, but how do you get your requirements? So that means you have to interview them, or or send that to questionnaire, questionnaire to say, so that could you tell me what you want, something like that. So, but it depends. You have to be able to identify which technique actually fits, the projects. So not all techniques that you can use on the projects. There are some techniques that is not going to work for your projects, but experience will actually help you to determine that. And maybe you may not really be the only BA on that project, but at least one way or the other, you'll be able to know that you have to use this technique for this project. Most times when it's something that has to do with data collection, you use your questionnaire. You may do a bit of, interviewing as well, or workshop, but most times you do questionnaire as well to gather that data, because when you have like maybe 100 people to collect data from, that means you will spend months and months, to actually gather the requirements, or to understand their problem or the processes. So, but you using, trying to, develop a questionnaire, send it out, then tell them to send it to you so day. So that will actually reduce your meeting time, it will reduce the workshop time. And so it's easier. Sometimes when it comes to data projects, you use questionnaire, but though you may see, like I said, you may still do like the mix match, with other techniques. And sometimes, even if it's non-data projects, it's something that sometimes you may do some research and some use intervene for, for some of the projects, or maybe even doing sort of like shadowing as well, like, see how that person is doing that task, and so you may see needs to do that. So it's not that you just need to use one. So sometimes you could just use one, and sometimes you could use several investigation techniques, combine it together to do your projects. So, and so another question there is that the purpose of the investigation. Why do you investigate? Because without you investigating, how will you know what the business need? You won't know. So you need to understand what the project is trying to achieve. You need to know what the business wants. When do they want it? Why do they want it? So that's how you can know, it's during the investigation that you can understand what their problem is, what they want, why they want it, how does it work, things like that. So it's during this investigation technique. So, but definitely when you get the textbook, you can read in detail what the questionnaire is, what the workshop is, so, but because the time will not permit to go into detail of that. So that's why I said it's just introduction. And so, that's why, so like the investigation, so for example, the interview, so it's like, you need to, for you to be able to interview anyone, there are few things that you need to do. I won't say so many. There are few things that you need to do. You need to first know, who do you need to interview? Because you can't just interview everybody, but you need to have a reason for interviewing that person, that you want to interview that person. Then, why? You need to first identify who you need to interview. Then why do you need to interview that person? And what exactly are you going to ask that person in the first place as well? Then when do you want to interview person, and where, the location? So you need to be able to answer this before you can actually, schedule an interview. And, you need to check their calendars to, arrange the meeting time, just like normal in your normal place of work. So is it face-to-face? Is it online? You need to prepare your questions. You need to be able to, send them the meeting invites, and when you are doing your interview, try as much as possible not to exceed 1 hour. Imagine you talking for 2 hours, that would be boring, for you, because you are just asking them questions. So, and at the same time, so during your interview, you have to document it yourself. You cannot tell them to, your stakeholder to write, to write that information for you. So you will be asking them questions, they will be responding to you. So at the same time, you need to be typing. So, and it's something that you can warn them ahead to say, oh, sorry if I'm just, I'll be typing as I'm as you are giving me the information, because I need to document it down. So, I mean, they give you an option to, on Teams, you can record, but you just need to, seek their permission to say, I would like to record this session if you don't mind, because I need to document all this information, all these requirements after the meeting. And they will say, so then you can listen to the recording. That will help you to concentrate, during the interview. So then you can access that and, start writing all the requirements from the recording. So these are the things that you need to do on the interview. And so you plan the interview, like the duration of the interview, it could be 30 minutes, it could be 15 minutes, depending on what you want to ask them. It could be one, but it should not exceed 1 hour. So then the location of the interview, is it that you want to do face-to-face or in their office or in the meeting room? You need to ensure that you book the meeting room before you send the invites, all those things. There are some, things that you need to just, just to plan, for the interview. Then the structure of the interview, how do you want to do the interview? Is it that you do face by face or, questions? Definitely it's going to be question and answer. So when sometimes they give you a response that you may need to, probe that response again, to say, okay, then how do you do this? So it's not that you list 5 things or 10 things that you want to ask, and you are just going to ask it, because sometimes they will give you a response, and that response you have to probe it further to say, okay, if you say they send it to you, how did they send it to you? You say by email. Okay, by email. Is it every day that they send it to you? How often did they send that email to you? Or they may give you another response. Then if you think you still need to, you can still have some things that you can see teasers from that response until you reach nothing to probe again, so, but that's how that works. So you just need to understand that. And then, so you have sort of like, when you are doing the interview, you introduce yourself anyway. You can't just put meeting invite there and you just say, oh, I want to discuss this. No, you have to introduce yourself. You're in BA, you'll be assigned to do this. You are responsible to document this requirements. You'll be asking them questions. You set the scene, for them to know what you're about to do. And then you do, and once you do ask all your questions, which is the body, then you close it, you let them know that, okay, now what you are going to do, you are going to document it. I will send it to you, depending on you give them like a, time, to say, okay, maybe in another 2 weeks or 1 week or 4 days, depending on how you think you can turn around that information and document it in the document that you're going to share with them. So you send it to them and, to validate, just let them know what will happen next. Because if you don't tell them, definitely one way or the other, somebody may ask them that, or their manager may ask them to say, okay, so how did the meeting go? So what now happened? And the person say, I don't know. Then they'll be like, did the BA not tell you what they're going to do with the information you've given them? So even before asking, you need to tell them what is going to happen next. So if you have told them that, oh, I'm going to send, maybe before in another 1-2 weeks, I'll send it the documents, you will review it. Then if you're happy, I will expect you to sign it up. Then if their manager even asks them, they will have something to say. So that's what you just need to ensure that you update them on that. So just a quick one. So what can be used to prioritize your requirements? So I'll minimize this. So what can be used to prioritize the requirements? If you can just type.
Moscow.
I can see it. So you can just type
Moscow.
it. So, okay, Moscow, aside Moscow.
High, medium, low, 1, 2, 3.
We can use numbers 1, 2, 3.
Okay, yeah. So okay, so I think to avoid, so you can just type it. So and so yeah. So the second question. So what does Moscow stands for?
Should more.
Moscow stands for must have, should have, could have, and I think I forgot the other one. I think that's what it is.
That's what a lot of people don't really, remember that fourth one. Won't have. WONT have. I will not have it. Will not have it. Won't have. Okay. And so list 3 investigation techniques you can use to gather your requirements.
Interview.
Okay.
Questionnaire, interview, and workshop.
Okay. Yeah. Good. And any examples of non-functional requirements? Okay, capacity, yeah. Scalability, yeah.
I think security aspects.
Security, yeah. Availability, yeah.
Compatibility.
Yes.
Data recovery.
Yes. Backup. Okay, yeah, okay. I think let's move on. Mention a word that can be used to replace current in process modeling or requirements. Current.
Assist.
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 Okay. And the future one?
To be.
B.
Okay, thank you. So which of these requirements are correct? I hope, let me mark, I think, so that you can see this one properly. Which of these requirements are correct?
So, auto-generate employee number. Each time system should.
D.
B, I think.
B.
Manager must be able to generate report from output system.
B.
B.
They're all correct. The HR needs to generate employees number each time it's added to it.
Correct.
Where A is out of it? Yeah, so it's more than one.
System should.
C as well. Yeah, B and C because it's more than one.
C and C.
D.
Okay, yeah, it's B and D. It's B and D. Because your requirement needs to have a priority. A does not have a priority. It doesn't have one. It doesn't have maybe
Because
two
that's
or
going to go to HR.
the HR system needs to there's no should, could, must, won't, or want, or I, or because even if it's I, low, medium, it will just be in front of it, or it could just be in another column here. There's no 1, 2, 3 here. So there's no priority here. The second one is saying the system should allow. So we are saying should. It's essential. Yeah. So we have a priority.
Essential. Yeah. Okay.
So an administrator requires. We are saying requires, but how do we know the priority? Is it going to be the last bottom one, or is it going to be one, or is it going to be medium or low, or should or could? So it's missing. Priority is missing, and HR manager must be able. So we are essential. So yes, so it's B and D. So your priority needs to have. Your requirement needs to have priority. So it's a must that it has to. So it could not be high, medium, low, or 1, 2, 3, or must, should, whatever. So it needs to have that. So yeah, I think so yeah, you've done well anyway. So that's the end of the session for today. Any question? Yeah, it's fine. Any questions?
Please,
what's the name of the textbook?
Okay.
Is BCN's business analysis textbook. I'm sure once they say send the recording, you'll be able to see that. I think I'll just I can quickly go through the. I think is this one. Let me just. Yeah, is this textbook?
Okay.
So it's business analysis. So it could be 4th edition. So BCS. So when you go on BCS website, or you can just Google BCS business analysis textbook, it will show you that. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah. So as a BA, I just want to ask this question about, say, if like a project is given, are you set a time? Have you given a time? Because if you have a lot of process to go through, the people you have to ask questions and everything. So are you given a set time that, okay, this is the time you're supposed to finish the job? I mean, to get back to.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Yes, most times, definitely you'll be given a time. Not even most times, you'll be given a time. But the project manager, if you are working in a waterfall environment, so the project manager may say, they may put, 1 month or 2 weeks for the requirements. Then you have to challenge that to say, I need to speak with the finance director. I need to speak with this, and I don't even know the availability at the moment. I need to check their calendars. So you need to be able to push back in a way. And that's if you have justification to say, it's going to take me maybe 1 hour each day to be able to, or maybe 2 hours, and then you need to maybe interview all these people over 2 weeks. Yeah. And I don't even know their availability. And at the same time, if I finish interviewing them or gathering the requirements through workshop or whatever, I still need to document these requirements. So if I document it, then I still need to do validation to them, send it to them for them to review. So you need to, so there's no way. So if it's a big project, no, definitely no, although the project manager may not have an idea of, of how long it's going to take. So you have to be able to enlighten that project manager. So definitely they will definitely they will have a project plan, that will have a particular time frame for your own tasks. But you need to be able to ensure there's something that you can meet with that timeline. But I know there's a difference. There's a requirement here saying difference between requirement gathering and elicitation. So like I said earlier, the gathering is the elicitation is just another word that we use for gathering. So we say requirement elicitation. So it's still the same.
I was actually going to ask.
So it's just a terminology. Yeah. So, and the difference between a BA working in waterfall and agile environments, it's still the same task that you do. You still gather the requirements documents and you interview, but it's just that the way you do it, in an agile environment, you do it like in chunks, in bits. So probably they may say they have maybe sprint 1 to sprint 7. So that means you first gather the requirements from that sprint 1. So they may say, for example, you want to develop a website. They may say, we just want to do the home page. The sprint 1 is just for the home page. So that means you will go and document requirement based on the home page only. So then you document that, they will review it, do all the process, document, validate it, get an approval, then you give that to the developer. Then once you do that, you move to the next one, because you are always like a sprint ahead of the developers, or this, definitely you are always a sprint ahead. So then maybe the next one they may say is contact us page that we want to do, or payment page, or depending on what they've lined up. So that when you have the backlog, then so it's just do it in base. But if it's a waterfall, you have to do all the requirements for the project. You have to gather the requirements for the contact, for the page, for the payment at the same time. I mean, before you send it to the developer. So that's just the difference. So for the business analyst and product owner, they are similar, but they have different responsibility. So for the product owner, sometimes they will say some job adverts will want somebody to practice as a product owner, and at the same wear the same hats as a BA. So product owner are more like the, they owns, like you use product owner in agile environments, when you are working in agile environments. So because they will know the roadmap, of that particular product, what they need to do, they will be sort of like a, representative of that customer, and they will be the one to prioritize your backlog to say, this is what I want you to deliver first, this is what I want you to do next. So, but you need to understand how agile works, but definitely they have different roles. So it's not every time that the product owner will have to go and document the requirement. So if they have a BA will need to document their requirement, but sometimes they may ask you to wear the two hats together. So, but it's different. So you have different responsibility. Any other requirements before we call it? Ola, yeah, I think Ola is raising up.
Hi, good evening. I was going to ask, so imagine you have a project given to you and you've got a specified timeline to meet to carry out the project. So would there be any tolerance in case you are not able to meet up? And if, for example, you exceed, maybe you're given maybe 2 weeks tolerance, or for some reasons, maybe the software developers or the people, the technical team are not able to, meet, with some of the requirements in designing it, could there be any other way to, help complete the task?
Sorry, who will help complete the task?
So what I mean is that if you exceed the time you've been given, so would you ask for extension or time, or how do you go about that? Or must it meet up with the deadline or something?
Yes, there's definitely, I'm sure the project manager would have put sort of like a contingency, within the plan. But at the same time, the project manager, they usually strict, with that. I'm talking about waterfall now. They usually strict with that project plan because that will impact a lot of things. So it could impact the cost, it could impact the time, because for everyone working on a project, you are a resource, and definitely you are being, charged, or sort of like they are charging, they have like a cost assigned to each person working on that project. So for example, maybe they've said, okay, you are going to work maybe 4 weeks on that project, or 3 months on that project. Now it's exceeding to 4. So that means it will impact the project cost. And they may have a budget that they don't actually need to exceed, or it could be tight. So that's why when the project manager is the project manager will share the plans with you to say, this is what this is what I want you to do, and you have to work your own days. You have to explain. Once you see that draft, before the plan would be finalized, you have to explain, you have to let the project manager know, or maybe try to put a contingency plan down, make it 6 weeks, because I need to reach out to several people. So you need to do that ahead. Even if you're not assuming that you've done that ahead, 6 weeks, maybe due to maybe some key people that need, your stakeholders that needs to give you requirements. Maybe some of them, were on leave or maternity or something like that, and nobody to actually cover out for them. Then that is actually, they will understand that. So you just need to ensure that you let your project manager know on time. Then they will actually, find a way to accommodate that. So, but you just need to ensure that you have justification, for any time that you are asking that for more time, or, you need to have a reason. And at the same time, they will ask you, so what did you do this week? So what have you, you just need to ensure that you are able to justify for that extension. And if it's sort of like an agile environment, it's something that they usually plan. They would have planned sprint 1, this is what we're going to do. Sprint 2, this is what we're going to do. And if peradventure you are unable to do a certain tasks within that sprint, maybe it's a 2-week sprint or 4 weeks, you need to because that's why you will be having like the daily stand-up in agile environments. You'll be having daily stand-up. So that's an impediment to say, oh, I've been trying to arrange a meeting or setting up a workshop with this also department. I've not been able to get their time there. So because it's something they will say, oh, but you didn't mention it during the daily stand-up. So every day you have an opportunity to actually flag up any blocker that you are having. That's what we call impediment as well, to say you are having this blocker, you're unable to do this. So they will be able to, your Scrum Master will be able to try and work on that to unblock it, or they may say, okay, let's pack that, let's move on to maybe what you're supposed to do in sprint 3, let's do it, let's move it forward. So they will try and shift it back, they'll work around that. So in agile environments, definitely use something that they can easily resolve that. So there may not be a need for extension, because they would have known, once you know that you can't get somebody and you're finding it difficult, you would have raised it anyway. So sometimes just depends, just need to let them be aware either way. And so you ask for extension before deadline. So it's not change request. I don't know why you put change request. Change request is different. So change request, if is not a change request, it has nothing to do with you having a delay, when you're unable to get your requirements done. So because you've not even done it in the first place, it has not even been signed off. So it does not even get to change request. So when you get a change request is when maybe that particular thing your requirement has been finalized, they've signed it up, you forwarded it, or the developer have started developing that particular maybe system, for example, and now the stakeholder is saying, oh, we need to change this because a new regulation just came in, we need to change the requirement that we're giving you. Then that's when you apply a change request in. So, but when you are asking for extension for a deadline, no, so it doesn't have anything to do with change request. And amazing, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me say just a few words. Actually, I'm not doing this, but I'm a bit confused about the whole thing, because is it that each day is allocated for the course you want to do? Like today now is business and analyst. I'm supposed to do data analysis. Is it the date that is on the timetable that we're meant to do it, or everybody has today, is going on today already?
Okay, yes. So you only need to attend what you are interested in. So for people actually, for BA, so people that are interested in BA just need to attend it. So you don't need to attend all the courses, except you just want to, listen to what they're saying on name. But if you don't really have that time, just focus on your data analysis, the date that is put on the calendar to say that is when they're going to do it. That's when you just need to join. So you don't need to join the courses, all the courses.
Okay. All right then. I just wanted to know. And then from what I'm listening to today, it's like,
it actually
hello.
helps to, sorry.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Hello. From what I'm listening to today, now it's like you need to already have a knowledge of what is about the course or something, because I'm totally new to all of this. And to be honest, everything just seemed like you all already know what is involved, so you're just discussing it. Is this something that I need to go and learn first, or for somebody like a beginner is still okay?
No, you don't need to learn anything. So like probably maybe you joined late, I'm not sure. So this is just introduction to BA. So you don't need to learn anything. Like I said to people that started when we started, so it's not even a focus. It's just to have an idea of what BA is involved, what's involved in business analysis. So this is more or less, this is for beginner as well. So it's just introduction, to the course. So we've not even done anything like the requirement documentation, or process mapping. We've not even done anything. So it's just discussing it to say, these are the things that you'll be. So when you are doing your data analysis, the tutor will actually, teach you or tell you what will be involved in data analysis. So the person will do introduction, something similar to this as well, with you as well.
All right,
This is just introduction. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Tell me, please. Can you unmute yourself? Tell me if you still have question. Okay, it seems if there's no other question, okay, let me just quickly go through this one. Okay, yeah. So if you like Ajibulu actually mentioned, so if you have the time, fine, you can listen to all the, but it's just sometimes it's confused some people, it's confused them when they listen to everything. But as a Scrum Master, so you need to have an idea of what the BA does as well. You need to have an idea. You need to have an idea of, it's not that you need to have in-depth knowledge, but just an overview. What do they do? So that because you will be working as a Scrum Master, you'll be, managing, not really managing, helping like a slave master to all these people, BA, tester, developer, So if you have an idea of what they do, it's not bad. So it's good sometimes just to have an idea, but you don't have to spend your time on it if you don't have that much time. So yeah,
it's good to know everything, because sometimes a BA might want to put a wall over your eyes. You might be a Scrum Master, you might be a project manager, you might be whatever, but it's just good to know what the BA does, because then it could just kind of make you understand the depth that they have to go to in order for them to gather their requirements. And also sort of, you can sort of, I won't say sympathize with them when they're trying to tell you something, but it just means that you get to understand a lot more, and that way you might be able to work hand in hand.
Yeah, that's correct. But it's just that some people, it's not everybody that has the same, capacity to accumulate or assimilate things. So sometimes they mix things up and they'll be like, I'm confused. I don't even know which one is VA, which one is Scrum Master. So as a beginner, so definitely, if you have the capacity to get that knowledge, to assimilate everything, to get everything, it's fine. But if you think your strengths, you don't have that, it's not your strengths, to learn a lot of things at the same time, just to avoid confusion. So you just try to manage and stay in your lane, but it's always good and you have an edge. So when they are discussing, you know what they're talking about. So yeah. So any other question? If not, then we can close it. And any other question? Is it going to be hybrid because you can understand one language during the... Sorry, I don't understand your question, Jim. Understand? Is it going to be hybrid because you can understand the language during the... What language during the meeting? I don't understand, sorry. If you can meet yourself and just maybe instead of typing, just to save time. Yes, go ahead, Jim. Or
yeah, hello, yeah. I was just saying, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
No, I was just trying to add up to what the other lady was saying earlier on regarding being hybrid. Maybe if you're doing data analysis or you're doing business analysis or whatnot. So when you're having a meeting, so it kind of helps when a BA is using a certain language or when a Scrum Master is using a certain language. So you understand what they're saying when you're doing the stakeholders management meeting, right? Because otherwise, when you don't understand what they're saying and you have to write your reports at some point, then you won't know what to write and you probably won't understand what they're actually talking about. So attending all this meeting, even if you don't want to go too far, then it just kind of help you in the actual workplace, because when you hear some of those words that they're going to be using, so you kind of sounds familiar, rather than from what that lady said. I think everything that you've been saying so far looks strange to her because she haven't heard of it before. Or if she have heard of it before, then she can understand a little bit of what you're talking about. I was just going to add up to what that lady said.
Okay,
Thank
you. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other question before we end the call tonight?
I've got a quick question.
Go ahead.
Right. Does it cause any form of conflict of interest if you are knowledgeable, like within the Scrum team, you're knowledgeable about what the BA does, what the product owner does, and say, for example, you have to fill in for one of the roles? Does it cause any form of like conflict of interest, or you think it's great or it gives you an upper edge when you're knowledgeable about it?
Oh, when you are knowledgeable about it, to be honest, it doesn't, it's okay. It's for your own advantage.
Okay.
And so like myself, I know about Scrum Master, I know about testing, I know about project manager, I know about, you know, at least a lot of things. So so when I'm attending a meeting, so when they are talking, when they are saying anything, definitely most times I usually understand or have knowledge of what they may be saying. And sometimes you may work in a project that they may say you should write the test cases, or maybe if you have a external supplier, they may say, okay, they should send their test cases to you, you know, or their test scripts that they're going to, what they're going to test, you know. And because I have a knowledge of that, I can easily scrutinize some of those things to say, yo, you've not covered this, you need to include negative testing for this, you need to do boundary testing for this, because just because I know about testing. So if you have that knowledge, to be honest, is good for you, is better. So I would say it's better. And so I won't say it's a conflict. The only reason probably maybe is more like, for example, if you're a developer or if you are a BA and develop, or being a developer at the same time, definitely they won't allow that, because you can't be documenting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a confusing one, because sometimes you do have people that are knowledgeable about BA, QA, and being a Scrum Master and being a product owner. I'm just trying to think now, at what point do you put some kind of boundary to it, that I may know about what you're talking about as a BA, but I want to trust that you as a BA, you know what you're saying, if that makes sense.
Yes, but so if you're employed in any organization, so they will either employ you as a BA or they employ you as a Scrum Master, although sometimes they employ you as a BA/Scrum Master. So, but at the same time, for example, if you are a BA Scrum Master, Duaro, and maybe let's say a software tester is actually saying something, and you are the Scrum Master at the same time on that project, and you know you have a knowledge of software testing. So fine, if the person is saying, you will not actually confront that person like that. You know, there's a way.
I mean, what you're saying is wrong. Am I supposed to say,
yeah, it's just that you have to be polite about it.
Right.
Even if you want to say anything, you have to make sure you are professional, in a professional way. So even if the person is saying, oh, I've not done this, is taking, then you can try to say, okay, could you tell me the problem? Could you, okay, see, what do you actually need? But in a way, you have to be diplomatic about it. But at the same time, you know what you're trying to get at, but you don't have to be confrontational like that. We just have to be professional about it. And so you just have to manage that, because you don't want to step on two at the same time. But at the same time, you don't want any impact your project. So you need to let the person actually, you can say, okay, why not speak with this, or why not use this to do, you can use your, if you can't get logged into Jira, you can still use your exec to document it, then I'll send it to this person to review, so you can make that suggestion just based, because the person can have other alternative, so you just need to be mindful of other people as well.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. So any other question before?
Yes, good evening. I have a question.
Okay.
Yes, is in regards, the question I want to ask is on gap analysis. With the way you explained, so I just want to confirm, is gap analysis only gap analysis only carried out on an existing business or project?
Yes, most times. So for it's not really it's not necessary that it has to be existing projects. So it could be a new project. So for example, so if I say a new project, definitely if I say a new system, I wanted to say a new system, apology. So if I say a new system, so it's like they don't have anything at the moment and they want a system that will be doing this. So that means at the moment it's still is not existing. So you can still say you want to, there's a gap because at the moment they don't have anything at the moment and they want to be at that place. They want to be using the system, they want to be generating a report, they want to be doing this. So it's more or less like, what is the gap from what they have now? So it's not necessary that it has to be an existing system or maybe an existing process. So it could be, it's something that is just, when we say gap, so it's like a gap from one thing to the other. So what is the gap in between? So even if they don't have something, that means they don't have anything at the moment and they want to be doing this, in the future. So it's still a gap anyway.
Okay, thank you very much.
So you're welcome. Any other question? I know time. So if there's no other question, so
sorry, hi Biola.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry. I was just gonna say, following up that lady's question, right? When you're building a new website, okay, and you have to do the assist process. So and it's a new website. They didn't have a website before. So now, are you saying there won't be any assist process if you have to do your process mapping?
No, not really. So when you say gap, when we are saying we want to carry out gap analysis, you are saying from current state, what is the gap to the desired state, that is to be states or future states. So that is the gap. So the gap between is what we want to resolve. So now you want to build a new website and they don't have one at the moment. But how do they do it at the moment? So for example, let's say you want a website to be selling things, but how do they sell it at the moment? Is it that they just, put it in the shops and, they call customer, is it sort of like, or they hawk it all around, all around the city? But it's definitely it's either they are doing it one way or the other now, or they are not even doing anything. So if they are not doing anything, then we know that if it's, for example, if it's a new start company, so that means they don't have anything. So definitely you don't have, it's like, we don't have anything and we want to be there. So, but it's just that you don't need to document. So for example, if it's a new startup, definitely you're not going to, they don't have any process. So you're not going to document any process because they don't even have any, they've not been operating before. So you are not going to document any current or assist process. So that means you will only document their to be process. But that is if they've not been operating anything like that before. But assuming that they are using manual, methodology, manual way to do that process before they want to build a website, then you have to document that manual, because even if they walk to they walk to warehouse, they pick it up, they receive a phone call, they deliver it, they carry it to the, take a truck to carry it to the, to deliver it. So, it's still a process. But it's just that no website involved. It's only involved like telephone call or emails. So you still need to document that process because they were doing it in one way or the other before they now introduced the website. But assuming that is something that they've not been doing that process before, is like a new process. Definitely, you just know that nothing exists before, you only need to document the to be process. So is that clear?
It's clear, but what if the sponsor says that is out of scope, their assist process, like it doesn't want you to get to know how they've been operating, or just focus on building the new website for them?
To be honest, most times they will say, there's no need for you to even document the assist process because we don't even want, because we are not using it and we just need a new app. Even was it last week, one of the stakeholders where I was trying to document a particular process, for how they do sort of some of their tasks. And so the person was like, you don't need to know about it, because it's working at the moment and we don't have any problem with it. So I said, definitely, I still need to document it, because what we are trying to do, we want to put all the processes, whether it's working now or it's not working for you, we want to try and, bring a system, develop a system, or get a system that will be able to integrate all these processes together. Then I was able to convince that person, although the stakeholder was reluctant, but with the the way you manage them, you talk, they definitely, it was still able to give those information. I was still able to process it. So even if the project sponsor is saying you don't need to, but you try to justify that, at least for documentation, we just need to document that. Although if the person is very adamant and say no, all you just need to do, just let your project manager know, and your BA manager to say, okay, this they don't want to document this, and they say, okay, fine, just let it slide. As long as you've informed your project manager, your BA manager, it's fine. So even if they want to audit it later and they're not saying where is the assist process, at least you need to ensure that you try to convince the project sponsor to say, we need to document this for us to be able to is the best practice for us to have what we are doing now, how we want to. So it will help us to identify where the problem is. You just need to try and convince your stakeholder, but if they are really adamant about it, there's nothing you can force them to spill it out. So, but you just need to ensure that your project manager is aware of that is a risk. So if it's a risk, if it's actually a risk, then they need to call it out. Yeah. Any other question before? Any other question before I end the call? Okay. So if there's no other question, thank you so much. So we'll speak tomorrow.